It depends per vehicle, but generally if you just use regular oil, it's every 3,000. If you use synthetic, 5 or 6, and you can do full synthetic. The new oils are coming out that have better detergents and friction modifiers. A diesel every 15,000 miles. It depends on the diesel. Now that the diesels have better, I guess, emission systems, they still get dirty pretty quick, but the detergents inside diesel oil are, I guess, a lot longer lasting. Once every month is just pop your hood open and check the fluids. Obviously, check the oil, check the coolant. If it has a coolant leak and you let the vehicle overheat, you start warping the head, or the head gasket starts, I guess, breaking. Do your regular maintenance, which is oil change, air filters, and tire rotation, because in that time you'll see if there's something wrong with the tire or something with the suspension when you rotate. One tire is more worn out. Oil is like the blood of the car. A lot of people think that a vehicle is just a machine, when if you take care of it, it's going to take care of you.
Hello everyone, welcome to MotorCast, one more episode in which we can come together with Rahim, and today we have a super guest, which is Frankie. Rahim, Frank, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing very good. Super excited apparently.
Yeah.
Are you nervous?
Just a little bit.
Okay, don't be nervous, you're at home. Yeah. What's up, Rahim?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to MotorCast. I was just thinking before, we just been pumping out a bunch of episodes today. Homer just finished one, and I feel like not many people get a chance to introduce all of their friends to the rest of the world, and I feel like that's what we're getting to do, is like everybody that we're in our day-to-day with, just like Frank Zilla, like Gustavo, like everybody else people are going to meet. It's like our way of being able to introduce all the people that mean so much to us to everybody else, and I just think that's super cool, because I want to show my friends off.
Great.
I'm super pumped for everybody to meet and hear about Frank. If I could introduce you, Frank, in my own words, Frank is easily one of the smartest human beings I've ever met in my life. He just knows a little bit about everything.
I know.
It's crazy, some of the conversations I've had with you. It's crazy to me that just the way your mind works, and I think you're a super special dude. And then just from like a friendship standpoint, I think you're easily one of the most loyal people I've ever met, and I think you maybe probably don't hear this enough, is you are like one of the most pivotal pieces of new Motivation 2.0 from our beginning to where we are now. You've been one of our consistent pieces. You've always been there in the back, and I'm sure you guys will get to hear a lot more about our ups and downs, but there was a point where you were the only mechanic in the shop, or like maybe you and one other person?
Yeah.
Right? We've gone from like 8 techs down to 1 or 2, where Frank was the shop foreman back there, and then back up, and dude, you've just done super amazing, and I think it's super awesome that we get to introduce you to everybody. How are you feeling, Frank? You ready to roll?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I think before we get into the nuances, before we get into what you do with us or anything like that, just introduce yourself to everybody. Who is Frank Zilla, and what makes Frank who Frank is?
The best way to put it is I just like helping people. So that's why I like working on cars. When I was young, I used to see a lot of people get scammed in the mechanic world. So I was like, I want to help people not get scammed. So, and I'm just a shy guy with a lot of energy.
Are you shy? I would have never guessed he was shy. Would you have guessed he's shy?
I think so. I think I can relate. That's why Frank is one of my friends here in Motivation, because I just know that I can relate with Frank with that. Like, he is shy, but he brings it out in a different way.
Yeah, I'm weird.
A good word, a really good word. But you like helping people, and you kind of just told everybody that you work on vehicles, you're a technician. But like, what about way before that? Like, who is Frank? Like, what even brought you into the industry? What even made you want to choose this path in life?
Really, what it was is I had a group of friends, and we used to play video games a lot. Play like Need for Speed, Midnight Club,
Some of the classics.
Yeah. And when we were able, or grown up enough, I guess, old enough to be able to work and buy a car, we bought a car, and we wanted to go fast.
As most teenagers do.
Yeah. but we didn't have the knowledge to go fast. So we would start watching YouTube videos. We would beg big shops to let us work for free, and so they can teach us. And
That's pretty amazing. So
That's hunger, bro.
yeah, that's super hungry. So like what? So how would you approach a shop owner? Like, let's say I'm a shop owner. I've got a reputable shop. How are you and your friends even approaching that topic?
we would go with our car broken down and just go dirty. Hands greasy, face greasy, full of grease, not greasy, and show them that we have heart, that we wanted to become mechanics. And
did that go pretty well? Like they would just let you like...
it went pretty well, but there was times that they would kick us out, like, we don't want you guys here. I mean, I guess it was the appearance, because we would go greasy. And a lot of the shops that we used to go ask were like high-end shops, where they worked on Mercedes and stuff like that. And they looked at us and like, look at those raggedy kids, I don't want them here. So we would get kicked out a lot, but we were persistent and just kept on asking, until a few shops that were local to my area would let us work. There's one in particular, his name was Humberto. He was a Mexico auto repair. It's I guess he started off the same way, and he felt like a connection to us, because like I see that you guys want to do this and really have a heart, and he gave us a chance. I don't know, it's kind of hard to put into words, because I've never really told anyone about my past like that, so it's kind of putting me on the spot.
I feel that, man. So like, I'll pick and choose some things that you just said though. So, it's obvious that you want to help people, but it started with you. It seemed like just wanted to modify your vehicle and things like that, right? Yeah. How did that translate into your step into the auto industry? Like, what made you, like, maybe that was a hobby, which I think it is for a lot of car guys, right? It definitely was a hobby for me, but what made you be like, hey, I'm going to turn this hobby into, like, I want to work in this business?
It started by going to car meets. Met a lot of new people, new friends, and there was a lot of people that were fresh like me that didn't know anything about cars, and I had a little bit more knowledge than they did. And they started asking me to help them with their cars, and that grew to them telling their friends and their friends coming to me. So that's when I thought I should get serious about it, and just, I guess, it leveled up from there.
Yeah. So did you go to school anything for this, or is this something that you just learned?
So I pretty much learned it all on the streets. I did have a shop owner. His name was Jason. It's one of the first real shops that threw me into I guess the nitty gritty of being a mechanic. He taught me a lot. He was he learned in prison, so I learned from him, and then they saw that I was pretty good at it, since it's like a puzzle. And I'm, I guess, good at puzzles, because my ADHD makes me like hyper focus. There was a time the shop closed down, unfortunately. I guess he didn't want to do it anymore. He wanted to go a different route. But before it closed down, he was able to he sent me to Gwinnett Tech for a few classes.
That's pretty awesome. Just out of the kindness of his heart, or you asked to go?
No, they're like, this guy's good. I guess they looked at me as an investment. But then I guess I stopped going.
Yeah.
There was like a weird point in my life where I didn't know what I wanted to do. I guess that's every teenager has that. And I got out of working on cars for like a year. During that time, what did I do? I don't know.
So you, and what age bracket do you think you were in at that time when all this is going on? When at college, when you take your little break from
18.
So you're roughly 18 years old. So far, you've built a passion about cars and going fast and modifying them and things like that. You've gone through the grind, right? You've just gone up to shop owners and be like, yo, I'm here. I'll hustle for free, and I'll do whatever it takes, right? I guess, to get a shot. It seems like Humberto at Mexico Auto Repair, he saw something in you guys. He gives you guys a shot. You move on. You work with Jason. And what was going on in your mind when you were like not sure, and what made you want to say? Because I feel like it started off as a hobby, and sometimes a hobby can get confused with like, hey, this is what I want to do. But then you really took like a year, right, to figure out, hey, what do I want to do? What was it you think that made you make the decision where like you're like, hey, I'm on the right path and this is what I want to do?
After with Jason, it was called Family Automotive. Taking that break, I really didn't work because I was doing side jobs even during that time, so I was making okay money. Saw a job listing on Craigslist. I don't even know how I got it. I just texted the job and I told them what I know how to do. I thought it was a mechanic shop, and the owner of the company texted me back, "Hey man, come see me," and showed up. And they asked me questions about what I knew, mechanic wise, car wise. I told them everything. And they're like, "Okay, you're hired." And I was like, "What?" So I didn't even know what the position was, and it turns out it was sales, car sales, used car sales. First week there, I was scared, nervous, didn't know what I was doing really, and there was a few people there that helped me out, that taught me how to sell. Sold vehicles there. I guess we sold them pretty well for, I don't know, 2 years. And I noticed that a lot of the vehicles that they were having issues. And I brought it up. It's like, I'm a mechanic, so I could help. And that's how it got me back into the nitty gritty of working on cars.
I have a ton of respect for that, man. And like the moral of the story here is, look for jobs on Craigslist, because that's how I found this job too.
One thing that I would like to add to that is that for me it's surprising in the fact that you went back to your passion. At the end of the day, people jumps into different jobs on sales, especially if you're doing a big amount of money, right? But you decided to go on your passion, which is repairing cars. And it's not that in sales you're not gonna help people, but you have your own way to help people.
And it's weird that you say that, because I think if it's meant for you, it'll always come back to you. So I feel like that's how it happened. Yeah, like a boomerang.
And so, what I really liked is like, because I can relate to that a little bit too, right? When you're selling vehicles, and you can really help people understand, like, hey, this is what's going on with a vehicle. You can give them some feedback about the vehicle, and I think it makes your job a lot easier, because you can help people with honesty, right?
Yeah.
And not to say salespeople who aren't mechanics, they're not honest, but it just takes that transparency to a whole nother level, because you can like point stuff out. And like, I just feel like as a consumer, I would feel so much more comfortable buying my vehicle from somebody who knows exactly how the vehicle runs, or if it has any issues or anything like that. And so, like, Frank, how long I've known you? Like 3 years now?
Yeah, 3 years.
So I've known Frank 3 years, and I think this year was the first year I found out he ever did sales. Sebastian came up to me and he's like, "Yo, why doesn't Frank sell vehicles?" I was like, "Bro, why? Maybe he doesn't want to. Why would I just randomly go up to him and ask him to sell vehicles?" He's like, "Because he did it." I was like, "What are you talking
Like
about?"
2 months ago, then.
Moment I went to Frank and I was like, "Frank, you used to sell vehicles?" He's like, "Yeah, and I was good at it too." I guess you were selling like 60 to 70 vehicles a month?
On the good months, the dealership I was working at did a lot of volume sales. I think right now they're hitting maybe 500 a month.
Let me just put that into perspective, right? Motivation Jonesboro is averaging 100 units a month. Our top salesperson last month did 25 units. So on Frank's good months, he was doing 60% of what our entire store is doing.
Right.
That is freaking amazing, dude.
Also, during that time, the economy was way better, so a lot of people were buying. Banks were giving stuff away, so that also helped.
So I would love, just because that's something that's super near and dear to my heart, is sales. I would love for you to kind of get into that story. How was it? What did you learn? What made you so good? Especially if you never did it before.
So really, how you see me right now sitting is how I used to sit with the customers. A lot of the customers would say that when they would come in, they're like, "I hope you're not the pushy salesman that wants to sell me some piece of junk." I was like, the same way I'm talking right now, I'm like, no. I would just tell them straight up no. Like, I was super relaxed about it. I would go show them the vehicle. I would actually do a pre-purchase inspection for them before buying the vehicle.
Wow.
And tell them, was like, "Oh, you're gonna need brakes, the tires are low, missing coolant," or you know, just whatever was wrong with the vehicle. I would tell them straight up right there. And pretty much I would do the Foursquare, give it to the boss man. The people that would come in already had their application done, so it was pretty easy for me to do. So I would go sit down and ask them, so did you like the vehicle? Obviously, if they didn't like it for some particular reason, I would show them other vehicles. Most of the time, they did it out of necessity because they wanted to, I guess, work. And at that time, Uber was big, and a lot of people would come to buy vehicles for Uber. And they wanted something reliable. And I think me telling them everything that they had to do with the vehicle up front before buying it, because would help. Well, not because. Would help them make the decision a lot easier, because they would go to other dealerships and be like, oh, the car's good. There's one guy that bought a vehicle from another dealership, and they sold him on it. They made him seem like it was a diamond, and when they would go drive it, the transmission would neutral out. So they got stuck with a loan on a vehicle that they didn't want, that didn't work. So a lot of the times when they'd come to me, they'd tell me their story, and I'm like, let me help you find a good car, and something that I feel like is reliable. And I would go through the people, I would test drive the vehicle for them too, which scared a lot of customers, but at the end they were happy with it, because I do this thing, what I call it, stress test. If I can break it, that means the car's not good. Had me on the side of the road a few times with customers, but they were thankful because they didn't buy something that would break down on them.
And I think, like, even though this is not an episode about sales, I think, like, what you just said is super important. Most consumers I think are just fearful of the unknown, and when they're working with somebody that really is looking to help them out, and show them what to do, I think that's what creates that bond. And I don't know for sure because I wasn't there with you, but I imagine that's probably one of the big reasons why you were so successful, was because I feel like you would, the things that were going on in their head, hey, is this a good vehicle? Can I trust this guy? Will this break down? Will this treat me well? You would take all of that was going on in their head and kind of just lay it out there. Is this a good vehicle? Here's X, Y, and Z. Am I going to need to do anything to it? Here's X, Y, and Z. And I think you help them make a better decision, a more informed decision, because I don't think it's the fact that people had a lack of trust or anything like that. I think most people are good people, and I think most people believe other people are good people, but I think once they have all the information, they just feel better about making a more educated decision versus taking a risk, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I made a decision.
One thing that I would like to say is that people need to understand. People, as you say already, this is not a sales episode, but people need to understand what's on the other side of the table when you're trying to sell. Man, getting into a loan, I don't know, 72 months, 5 years, 6, 7 years on a loan, on something that is about to be broken, you gotta have some heart, bro. I mean, what are you standing? So that, I think that's one thing that in previous episodes, that's one thing that I always see with our people. That's why people is sitting right now with us, because everyone that has been in this table or in these shares, they're telling the same story. We're honest. That's something that I really value on our team members, not specifically on you. We had Gus already. We had different people. We had Tam.
Even Tam, right? And he's
Tam, and it's the same mentality of motivation. That's something I really value on our people, bro.
Yeah, that's the reason I like coming every day. And no matter how tired, how mentally stressed, is like, I know I'm gonna have a good time at motivation. It's the only job that I felt like that.
Man, and I really like that you said that, man, because like for me it was the same way. It was the first job that I ever had where like I didn't feel like I was coming to work. Like it felt like more like I'm excited to get there, rather than like every other job in my life I had was like, yo, like I wish there was a way I could get out of this. I wish my car broke down on the way to work because I really just didn't want to be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's jump back on you, man. So you did sales, you on your good months. I really can't let it go, but like 60, 70 units, that's like
69.
freaking 69 was your top, right? So that's what, 2.5 a day if you work 6 days a week, 2.5 to 3 a day. That's freaking amazing. So what pulled you now out of car sales, and where did you transition after that? Like, because at 69, like, you know, like I had no idea what you were making, but if we just did some simple math, at 69 units, at even $200 a unit, that's a little bit of money.
Yeah, right? A little bit of money. Yeah, but it was a little bit less, but it was still, I was getting paid on warranties and PRs.
Yeah. So what made you leave that? Because it turns into a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right? And you said you did it for 2 years?
3 years.
3 years. So you did it for 3 years, and I think when you get into that, in my opinion, from my point of view, when you get into that sales mode, there's very few people that I see that get into sales that end up, unless they're bad at it, leaving sales, and you were somebody who was great at it. So what made you want to get out of it, and what'd you transition into after that?
So what really made me get out of it, this is how my old boss put it, not to throw him under the bus, but he said that I got lazy, which is somewhat true, but I lost the drive to sell because the vehicles eventually started breaking down more often, or I didn't have enough vehicles that were good enough to sell, and I would tell the customers, I'm sorry, man, I don't want to sell this to you.
So, like, I have to cut you off right there. Forget that dude. Who said you were lazy? Right? It seemed like you just didn't want to negotiate your ethics, and I respect that.
Thank you.
All right, my bad to cut you off.
The last 2 or 3 months that I was in sales, I was getting like 1 or 2 customers a week, sometimes 1 a day at the most. Like I said, I lost the drive because I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel good trying to sell something that wasn't a solid vehicle.
You didn't believe in the product anymore.
That's when I told them, like, if you want me to sell more, I think it'd be better if I could get a better understanding of why the vehicles are coming out the way they are. And pretty much the sales manager at that point were like, we already have like 15 salespeople, so you can stay or you can go, it's just not going to make money. He told me straight up, and I was like, okay. They liked me enough that they were like, you know what, let's put you on the service side. Let's see what you can do there. And that's pretty much what pulled me back into it, because I saw a lot of flaws in their process, a lot of accountability issues on the back end of the shop side, detail side. And they just threw me out there, and they were like, do inspections, tell us what we need, organize the shop, work on cars. I was doing everything by myself. And they were usually getting like 50, 80 vehicles a week, and then it tripled, and they were getting like 150 a week, and that's when we started getting help. Well, they told me to hire someone to help me. But I would notice that the guy that was doing the inspections wasn't doing them correctly, or I guess correctly in my book. And I kind of got like a niche to like want to have everything perfect. So I started stress testing all the vehicles. I had vehicles die on me that engines are worth like 30 grand.
What kind of vehicle is that?
BMW.
Yeah.
The 550i, the twin turbo one's a V8. That itch is what I guess made me good at giving them good vehicles. They were being, I guess, I'm not trying to brag or say it was me that they were being able to sell more vehicles because they were having a lot more reliable vehicles, but I think I helped a lot.
Well, I don't think you're trying to brag either, but it seems like they had an issue. It seemed like they happened to put you in that position, and it seemed like that problem got solved. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, pretty much.
I think it was on you, man. So now you get back into the service side, and I think I just hear you, like you just said a lot. It seemed like you were managing the whole back of the house, right? You created a process. Hey, this is how you check a vehicle. This is how you stress test a vehicle. This is maybe what you look out for in the vehicle. And then it seemed like now everybody's getting a little bit better product, right? And it seemed like at that moment, your original problem got solved, right? Like, hey, I wasn't believing in the product anymore, so I couldn't stand behind it. So that means I wasn't passionate about selling it. But now that you've solved that problem, why didn't you go back to sales? What kept you in service?
I don't know if you've heard the saying is, if you want to get it done the right way, do it yourself. So that's what kept me there. Was I didn't feel comfortable letting other people do what I knew how to do.
So, and at this dealership, this is the same, and just to make sure I understand correctly, this is the same dealership you found on Craigslist, right?
Yeah.
So you found it on Craigslist, you start a sales job, you move into the service side, you're able to help build the process, better the process, deliver a better product. Whatever end up happening that you left there?
The work culture wasn't the best. It started getting tiring, and it was just, I guess, not for the way I am. I like to have a little bit of freedom, and they started, being micromanaging, just being, I guess, not being good leaders is what it was, and that kind of pushed me away from it.
And so what'd you do? You made a decision, I'm leaving, and did you have something lined up, or what happened? What was your transition out of there, and what was next?
So the crazy thing is actually I got let go.
Oh,
yeah.
For what?
Pretty much, I get, again, the issues with management. I kind of told them to, screw off, you know. I didn't want to say
the children's show.
Yeah.
No cursing.
Not that my work ethic stopped. I was still me. I just stopped doing what they asked me to do.
Yeah.
Just I guess it was just too much. I felt like it was too much on like my mental, so I just like pretty much gave up there. So and then that's why.
And if I could have a sidebar on what like I'm hearing from Frank, I just feel like and this like goes back to like for me as a leader for motivation. I feel like you have to have a good environment for people to succeed, right? Like, and I'm not saying we have the best garden here by any means, but I just feel like when you have good people, you also have to kind of like invest in their environment, right? Because like people just don't have unlimited motivation, right? Like you're here day in and day out. We're here on a Sunday knocking out 6 or 7 episodes. You're here, you just work 6 days, right? And you're here today again at the office recording an episode. I just feel like the environment has to offer that plant or that flower a chance to bloom. And from your version of the story, it seems like they stopped watering their grass.
Pretty much. And a lot of people left from there. So
and I hate that for them. You know what I mean? And so what happened after that? So you got let go. What's happening next with Frank? What's your next move? What are you thinking? Were you sad about it? What and what'd you get into after that?
I wasn't really sad about it. I was like, I didn't care because I felt like if they didn't want to keep their employees happy, why would I want to stay there, you know? At that time, I was working out of my garage at my house, working on people's cars. I had a friend, we used to call him PP Joe.
PP Joe. Shout out PP Joe.
Yeah, from Platinum Paint, who gave me a chance on Tommy Bodywork and how to paint. He needed help because his company was growing, and he was like, do you want to come on and have your own route and go to dealerships and paint and fix cars? So I did that for about a year. And the crazy thing is I went back to the same owners, but at a different dealership, and they were selling luxury vehicles and I guess high-end and like sports cars, supercars. And we were doing work on their lot, and they also needed someone that could inspect vehicles thoroughly because the products that they were selling were close to 100,000 plus, and they didn't have a process or anything. So like, you were good, and they took me from PP Joe. PP Joe was okay with it, which I'm thankful because leaving PP Joe or Platinum Paint to go to that dealership, I was able to come here because of the people that I met there.
And you know, I'm thankful for that too.
Thank you. So I started working there, I guess, solving their problems. And then the opportunity arose where they're like, hey, you want to come work for Motivation? And still had the same issue with the leadership. So I was like, yeah. And I came. First week, I was skeptical.
What was going on? I wanted to ask, like, what was going on in your head the first day, the first week? What'd you think? Because when you came on, we nowhere near had our stuff together. I don't even think we had job applications, right?
This location was open for like about a month, if I remember correctly. One of my friends told me, just if you see an opportunity, jump at it. And I was like, everything that they sold me on was true. They said the environment's better. You have a way to move up. You can have some freedom and work in peace. And it's like a employee company where they treat their employees better than a lot of places. And the first day, I was skeptical. It was a massive place. So I was like, that's pretty cool. It was cool too that we got to use golf carts. I never had a place that I could use golf carts. Yeah, yeah, at that time. And I was scared. I didn't know what was gonna happen. I thought maybe in reality, in my mind, I was like, I'm probably gonna be here for like 2 months. And I've been here for over 3 years now. The culture, that's the main thing.
In what point did you figure out, okay, this is the culture that I want to be part of?
I don't know. It's just more like, because I was being more like, I was blocking myself out from seeing it because I guess at the other places I I guess scarred, but not really scarred, you know. But I was traumatized.
It was
I was like, I don't wanna go through the same.
You made me remember the Lion King, bro.
Oh man. So
have like a Lion King blur pop up in the corner.
Simba crying.
Right.
So
Put Simba crying on his face. Edit his face to Simba crying.
so yeah, it was that me just finally saying, all right, I'm gonna let go. I'm gonna keep that old mentality of they just wanna use me for work and as manual labor and don't care about me. And it slowly set in. It's not like I realized one day like I'm gonna stay here. It just, I don't know, it was so fluid that I just felt comfortable. I mean, I started noticing that even though I went home tired, super tired, I would come tired to work, but I was happy to be at work. So that's really how it slowly started setting in.
So you bring, just like LeBron brought his talents to South Beach, you bring your talents to motivation. It seems like you start feeling a little bit more comfortable, getting over some of the professional issues you've had in the past with companies, and you're still on the service side. I would love, just because I feel like your growth has a huge story to tell here, I would love for everybody else to kind of know about your story with motivation, right? Because I know how I see it, and I feel like it's something that I want to share with everybody, but I would love to hear it from your point of view. So I think on your first day, you're just a tech, right?
Yeah.
Like just like everybody else, everybody's on the same level. And in present day, you actually are the shop foreman, and more than that, you help me with the entire back of the house, right? What was that growth like, and how did you do it? Why, like, how can you do that? How do other people imitate what you were able to do?
Just work, to be honest. Have integrity, I guess. Sometimes I would get a car and I felt like, we could do better, and like I did things without telling you guys. If something was broken, I'd fix it. I'd just try to go the extra mile. And I guess over time that started showing. I don't think I have good leadership skills, but a lot of people think I do. I guess it's because it's not that I'm easygoing, because I could be annoying sometimes for people. But I think it's that what I do is I jump into the person's shoes. Like, we've had techs that that get mad when they're working on a vehicle, and I was like, yo, what's going on? And just talk to them, help them ease. And what I put in a lot of mechanics is I tell them that every job is easy, even though it's a big job or a difficult job. Is like, if you go in it thinking it's easy, it's gonna go a lot smoother for you, and you're gonna have a lot of less busted knuckles and anger at the end of the day. So just doing that, helping people, helping the other techs, I guess, get the work done.
And I want to dive a little bit deeper into, like, again, how did you go from being just on the same level of techs as everybody else to now being the shop foreman? Like, what if I'm a tech at a different dealership, what like in my day-to-day that I could change, and what was your growth actually even like?
Put me on the spot there, because it's kind of hard to describe. But I think, like I said, it's just work, and be happy while working. It's kind of like I said, it's kind of hard to describe it, but at that time you were working with us in the back, helping us. Like,
well, I'm thinking even before that, right? Because there was a point where you worked here where I didn't really know you, and I didn't really talk to you, right? A few months probably, right? That like Frank was working here, and I didn't really, like, I knew who he was, and I was like, yeah, he's probably a great dude, but I didn't really even chat with him, right? And I feel like from my point of view, it was like you weren't a part of any BS, right? That one helps stand out, because I usually pay the most attention to the people that are not coming up in conversations, right? Because I feel like if you're not coming up into many conversations, that means you're staying out of trouble, you're staying out of drama, and you're really focusing on what you've got going on. Then the other thing was, it was like, easily you became, so I was sales manager at the time, and easily Frank's name, when it did come up, it will come up in solution oriented conversations. So like when we had at that phase of motivation, we still were in the very high mileage diesel business. We didn't have a lot of cars, and we had good techs, but it just seemed like not everybody could work on a diesel, right? So the shop manager at the time, every time we sold a vehicle or we had a wheel or we had something on deposit, it just seemed like your name started coming up in most, well, I'm going to have Frank do this one, or I have to have Frank to do this one, or I have to have Frank drive this one, or whatever. And then it started clicking to me like, okay, obviously this dude is doing what needs to be done, and obviously this dude is good at what has to be done. And then for me, it just seemed like you didn't have like and I was a tech before, and like, for example, when I was a tech, I'd never talked to any sales manager. I only really spoke to everybody who was in the back of the house, but I definitely wasn't speaking to anybody above my manager or anything like that. I knew that they were the bridge between each other, and I left it at that. It seemed like to me, from my point of view, you didn't care, and you would speak to me if we had to have a conversation. It just seemed like when we were talking, your answers were well thought out, and I felt like, my passion has always stemmed from I want to do right by the customer. And even though I didn't know that was important to you back then, it just seemed like he wants to do right by us and by the client. So like, why wouldn't I just trust this dude? And for me, it was like, and you said this in a past episode, Homer, and this is kind of what you're saying now, is just showing up every day, right? He just showed up. Right, no matter what was happening, no matter people were leaving or getting let go, or new people were coming, or if there was issues, you just continue to show up every single day. And like, if I was a tech looking at you and I wanted to move up through the company and become a shop foreman or a shop manager or whatever the case is, I think those are some of the things I would do that I saw you do.
The thing that I would love to add is just not the thing that is not only to be good at. Because one thing that you just said, that I don't know if I have very good leadership skills. I mean, right now you're running the show, the back of the house. We're moving more than 100, an average of 120, 150 per month. And who's running the show? You're running the show. And it's not, and I remember that we used to have some good technicians, but they didn't have what you have right now. They had the leadership. They have the ability to work with everyone. I mean, one thing that Rahim was saying is that when he was a technician, he didn't talk to anyone else that was not part of the back of the house. But right now, I see you literally with everyone. So that's some leadership skills, that being able to be like a chameleon, to come here, come there, come to different places. That's something that, I mean, from my point of view, that's something spectacular. That's an ability. That's something that if you want to grow, you need to have that.
Man, that's like a slap in the face of knowledge. I never thought of it like that. That's great.
Thank you. I'm very knowledgeable. I'm just kidding.
Most would agree. Others, I'm not sure. I'm just kidding. Yeah. And like I guess the testament is, bro, everybody listens to you, right? We have what, 7 other techs? And everybody gets down with what you're saying, and everybody understands that, like, yo, if it's coming from Frank, it's something that has to get done. And not only that, but even like, think about the transitions we've had, right? We went from having, we've gone through with you a couple different service managers, and we've even boiled down to, like, in present day, we don't have a service director and we don't have a reconditioning manager. Right? And everything is still getting done. And like me and Frank, we're, I think, talking through the day, we're texting each other, and we're Skyping each other, right? All through the day. Even like something as, like, let me just share with you something as simple as last night, right? Frank gets off at 6 o'clock. You get off at 6, right? Yeah, Frank gets off at 6 o'clock. It's like 6 something, and he's sitting on the couch over there, and I have a trade in, and I was like, yo, Frank, would you mind helping me with this? And he did. And it's like, he doesn't even give me the vibe that I can't ask him, right? So he helps me with it. He does the pictures, whatever. He does his thing. The trade-in gets done. And now it's like 7. It's way later. He stayed to do a couple other things that he wanted to do for himself. Now it's like 7:30 or 7:40. We have the last client in the building. We close at 7. Frank gets off at 6. He already stayed a little bit later to help me. It's 7:30, 7:40. We get a customer who wants to trade in an Escalade. So I was like, okay, I'll just knock this out real quick, right? So I didn't know Frank was still here. I go in the back, and I start doing my pictures and stuff. He's already in his car, and I saw him, and I didn't want to approach him because it's past his time, right? He gets out of the vehicle, comes with a flashlight, comes with a scanner, and just jumps on with me, right? And I feel like that's leadership skills, right? Because you would do that if other people were around too, and I feel like they would see what you're doing. And I feel like those little things are what take you specifically, Frank, to the next level. And for anybody listening, I think that those are like the little things, like do the thing that's the right thing to do, and just be passionate about what you're doing, right? Even though it was like 7:40, 8 o'clock, you started at 9. You have a pretty labor-intensive job, right? And you're already in your vehicle, and like, to be honest, I might have just put that thing in reverse and sayonara, bro. It's 8 o'clock, I'm out of here. But you got out, right? And you're still trying to help me out, and I feel like that's what separates you from everybody else. The main thing, Frank, I'm super happy everybody got to really understand who you are, and understand how knowledgeable you are, and really see you from our perspective. So I really appreciate you sharing that story. What I would like to do is, I think, because you like to help people, we like to help people, and that's who we are here at Motivation. I wanna help our viewers and our listeners really understand more of the day-to-day life of, like, you know, we've covered how to finance a vehicle, we've covered a little bit how to buy a vehicle. We'll get a little bit more into that in some other episodes too. But how can somebody upkeep their vehicle? Would you mind going a little bit into that? Like, maybe some things that people can keep in their mind, maybe a couple of notes they take here and there. But let's say you've saved up your money, you finally financed a vehicle, you finally got the vehicle you wanted, or maybe you just got a vehicle, right? How can they invest in it and take care of it to make sure it lasts their full investment?
First of all, I would say do your regular maintenance, which is oil change, air filters, and tire rotation. And because in that time, you'll see if there's something wrong with the tire or something with the suspension when you rotate. One tire is more worn out. But oil is like the blood of the heart. Not the heart, but, you know, the oil is the blood of the car. And I think that a lot of people think that a vehicle is just a machine when, yeah, it's just a machine, but if you take care of it, it's going to take care of you. So if you do its oil change often, and as recommended, I guess, by the manufacturer, I think that's what's going to make your vehicle last the longest. There's in my experience from working on cars and at dealerships, I've seen used cars at other lots come in, there's sludge or there's something that causes the engine to go bad because the oil was never changed.
I'm laughing because, like, let me tell you how my mind works. If I heard a vehicle make an engine noise, my go-to is like, yo, let's just do an oil change. Like, when I do an oil change on my car, I feel like it's a brand new car.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like what you just said is super important. The oil goes a long way, bro. Yeah. So, okay, so let's say, dumb it down for me. I don't know anything about vehicles so far. You've told me I need to do my oil change. Mm-hmm. How often do I need to change my oil?
It depends per vehicle, but generally, if you just use regular oil, it's every 3,000. If you use synthetic, 5 or 6. Or high mileage is 5 or 6, and you can do full synthetic. And some oils now, the new oils are coming out. They have better detergents and friction modifiers, which allow you Viscosity.
Isn't that what it's called? My bad.
No. Viscosity is the thickness of the oil.
The thickness of it. Cut that part out.
Yeah, so they have different detergents and chemicals in it and friction modifiers that help the oil last longer. I guess just new technologies. Before, in some full synthetic oils, the friction modifiers and the detergents would die a lot faster.
This is what I mean by Frank is one of the smartest people I've ever met.
I've never heard about detergents on an oil, bro.
Oil works.
So they have I guess nanoparticles or something like that. I can't think of it right now. But these detergents is what keep the lubricity up in the engine, which keep the crankshaft and all pretty much, to dumb it down, all the metal pieces to keep them from overheating while, I guess, rubbing against each other while the engine's operating. And also from that, I think you should do very often is visually inspect the coolant.
Wait. Let's stick on the oil changes for 1 second, right? So if I'm using regular oil, 3,000 miles. If I'm using full synthetic, maybe 5,000 or 6,000 miles. What about a diesel?
A diesel, every, I don't know, 15,000 miles. It depends, again, on the diesel. Now that the diesels have better, I guess, emission systems. They still get dirty pretty quick, but the detergents inside diesel oil are, I guess, a lot longer lasting. But that, yeah, every 15,000 miles, and again, you also go by the vehicle specification or what the manufacturer recommends.
All right, so we got the oil, do my air filters, do my cabin filters, things like that. So now and now jump into what you were saying about visually inspecting.
Yeah, visually inspect, I guess, once a week, once every month, is just pop your hood open and check the fluids. Obviously, check the oil, check the coolant. Always you want to check the coolant is because if you let that, if it has a coolant leak and you let the vehicle overheat, you start warping the head, or the head gasket starts, I guess, breaking or cracking, or the head cracks, which overheating your engine is like.
I guess let's talk about that for a second, because I've been in that situation before. Let's say I'm driving down the road, or I'm on the highway or whatever. My car starts, usually it's at half. Let's say it starts going up. What should I be doing?
If you can't stop immediately, I recommend turning on the heat, rolling down the windows, and try to cruise at a steady pace to keep enough airflow on the radiator. But if you can pull over, I would pull over immediately and shut it off, because if you get to a certain, I guess, threshold, your engine is not going to be working anymore.
Okay, awesome. So far I got change my oil, change my filters, visually inspect all my fluids. And then what about a tire rotation? That seems like such a gimmick to me.
It seems like a gimmick.
It really doesn't seem like a gimmick, but
I mean, for some people it is, because a lot of people go to mom and pop shops and they like to overcharge for tire rotation, which should be really free. And the reason you want to do tire rotation is, first off, it'll make your tires last longer. And while you're doing the rotation, you're able to visually inspect the tire for any kind of wear, any kind of damage. Usually, if one tire, let's say on the left side, more worn out than the right side, it's either a alignment issue or suspension issue, or something with the hub or the knuckle or in that area. So it could be like a wheel bearing starting to go out, but you can't hear it, and the tire is telling you that it's wearing out because it's dragging.
So like what you're saying is, if I'm looking at a tire straight ahead, I'm looking at if it's even across the whole thing.
Yeah, so that's the thing you want to look for, is that it's even. Some vehicles, a lot of European vehicles have camber wear, inner camber wear, so they wear a lot quicker on the inside. There's remedies for that, but that's a whole other topic.
And what about as far as tires themselves? Is it true that you have to buy 2 tires at a time, or can you just do the one?
You could do the one, depending on, in my experience and what I feel like has worked for me, is you could buy one, but it has to have almost identical tread. I don't recommend it. A lot of manufacturers also don't recommend that, because if one tire is brand new and the other one's old, even if it's like, I don't know, 1/32 different, it's going to cause a different drag on the transmission. So this one's more worn down, this one's brand new. Obviously the new one's going to grip harder, so the one that's new is going to start gripping more than the other, and it's going to throw off, I guess, the speed sensor. So not really throw it off by a lot, but there's going to be like, I don't know. It's like, I don't know how to explain it, because I'm gonna go too deep into it.
But what you're saying is, if it's an emergency or if I don't have the funds, I can do the one.
Yeah, you can do the one.
But otherwise, definitely do 2.
Don't recommend it. Eventually, your transmission, or if something is dragging more on one side, it'll cause that side of the suspension or the axle to wear out faster.
I've heard this myth, and correct me if I'm tripping or whatever, but there's an advice that some people is giving, that if you buy a vehicle, like a used car, right? And after some miles or whatever, just to be sure, change the timing belt. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, you have to do it, because it depends, again, also vehicle specific, manufacturer specific. If it has a timing belt and it starts to wear out, starts stretching out, you're gonna damage your engine, because it's gonna jump timing. When it jumps timing, you're gonna start bending valves, and the engine's not gonna know what to do.
What kind? Like, to be honest, I ain't never did a timing belt in my life, right? But what kind of miles do you do the timing belt at?
A lot of them is like around 100, some 75. Like I said, it just depends. Not every vehicle has a timing belt. They also have timing chains, but those also have.
When I asked the question, I thought, did I say it right? timing belt or timing chain.
Yeah.
But what's the difference then?
So the difference is the timing belt is a belt, like it's a rubber belt, very high grade rubber belt, and the timing chain is a literal chain, like it's a metal chain, like on a bike.
And what vehicles do have belt, or what's the difference? What vehicles have
The difference, I don't know. I don't know how to put it because they both do the same job. It's just different. The way the timing is set up, they're actuated by different things. On the belt, they have a tensioner that is, I guess, a mechanical tensioner. On the timing chains, they have a hydraulic tensioner, which is they use the vehicle's oil pressure to, I guess, create tension on the chain, which helps.
Is one better than the other?
I prefer timing chains because they're, like I said, you barely have to service the actual timing chain unless you do something crazy to the engine where it starts stretching. If you have a timing chain, if you do your oil changes regularly and you keep sludge or any contaminants out of the oil, it keeps the tension. The tension is working well.
So on that note, like you were saying that if we get a timing belt vehicle, ideally 75 to 100,000 miles, it should be fixed. But now what, unfortunately not everybody is either in a position to buy something with super low miles. Like most of my vehicles I ever bought in my life, they had 150, 200,000 when I bought them, right? And I just wanted to make sure them jokers were turning on. I was not worried about a timing belt. So what about like folks that maybe need a little bit more time or before they can get into investment where it's super low miles? What about if I have, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, the only vehicles I can find are over the miles, and I don't have any records of a timing belt being done. Does that mean I can't buy it?
You could still buy it. In a perfect world, obviously, you want to do everything as a specs for the manufacturer. But I've seen people drive like Honda Civics. They last forever. They have belts, and I've seen people put like 300,000 miles on it, and they never did the timing belt, and it's still running to this day. So
and I have another or myth, or I don't know. One thing that I was surprised when I came to the United States is that mostly every person that I see is having coolant on their engine coolant or on their cars, right? Bro, back in Honduras, to be honest, 90% of people in their radiators, they have water. They don't have engine coolants, bro. So what are your thoughts on that?
That's dangerous. Coolant and water have different boiling points. So water obviously boils a lot, I guess, at a cooler temperature than coolant. And also water, if you put straight water, especially from like a water hose or a faucet, there's particles, minerals, and stuff that will, I guess, sedimentize or precipitate into solids, which will clog the radiator, could damage the thermostat, like some mold, some oxidation, but mostly is it doesn't have, I guess, the lubricity that coolant does and the oxidation chemicals to keep it from not rusting. A lot of people don't know.
My man Frank in another lifetime is a chemist.
Yeah, in this lifetime too.
All right, and what about in this lifetime too? You said. And what about like as far as servicing your vehicle, like up north versus down south? Like I feel like when I lived up north, everything was always broken all the time. What in the south, it seems like to me like vehicles just run a little bit better. Like what about as far as like if you live up north, do you need to be servicing your vehicle a little bit more differently?
Yeah, if you lived up north, I would recommend really putting your car on the lift as often as possible, especially during the winter. That salt starts eating away everything. If you have the option, spray it, put some bed liner on it, lube it up with some WD-40 if you don't have the money to get bed liner, and just check everything visually for rust. Rust is, a lot of Hispanics call rust cancer, because once it starts rusting, once the rust starts, it'll continue to progress and get worse. So. And
what about like, do you have maybe some tips or anything? Like, let's say I live in Chicago. It's about to be winter time. Is there anything that I should do to go in and get ready for the winter time? Like anything I should do to my vehicle to get ready for the cold times coming?
Yeah. So usually when you do oil changes, first off, it's called, winterizing your vehicle. Especially up north, what you want to do is make sure that the oil is fresh right before going into winter. Make sure you have the correct weight, have a good quality oil. That way, when it's cold, sometimes the oil thickens up in the cold, so you want to have something that has good lubricity qualities. So when you start it, you don't hear like engine clunking, and you get proper lubrication at a low temperature. Also, check coolant. If you have water in the winter, it's gonna expand. It's gonna end up cracking some radiator or the block or something. Always check your tires. If you have summer tires or all-season tires, just go straight for winter tires. You don't want to get stuck in the snow and you can't stop, or you don't have no traction. You get stuck, or worse, crash. And again, to get it ready for winter, what I would do is do the filters. A lot of people don't know, like right now, there's humidity in the air. Humidity could get trapped in the filters, and it could not solidify, but it'll, I guess, stop it. The filters are porous, so if a little bit of humidity gets frozen in there, it'll be pretty much like a clogged air filter, and the engine won't run properly. Obviously, once it warms up, that'll go away, but at a cold start, you want everything to be perfect.
And what about maybe there's some questions I'm not asking, but any tips that you might want to throw out to people just to make sure they keep their vehicle in the best condition possible?
Well, again, the main one is oil change, visually inspect the coolant, filters, also brakes. A lot of people don't know that, some people just drive it, like I said, like it's just a machine, and they don't care about the car.
I think one of the things I learned, the way you know how to do your brakes is once you hear it grinding, right? That's how you know.
Yeah,
no, I'm just kidding.
A lot of people go by that, which is bad, because sometimes you could save a rotor and just do a pad slap, but ideally you want to do both. Is try to see if you can get someone to look at it if you don't know, or Google how to look at brakes and visually inspect the thickness. Check for rust on the brake itself, caliper pads, and then what else? And tires.
And what about one thing that's bothered me my whole life is when I pull up to the gas station, they got 3 or 4 different choices. What kind of fuel should I be putting in my car?
Definitely whatever your vehicle recommends. Obviously, you don't want to put an E85 in just a standard gas, because your injectors are just going to go out. Go based on what it says, and I try to go to my recommendations. It's like a Shell or Chevron. They have additives in the fuel. If you go to a lot of the I would say grocery store gas stations, I don't want to throw gas stations on the bus, but a lot of them buy in bulk because their gas is a little bit cheaper. And when they do that, the ethanol content varies from tank to tank.
So let me ask you, I guess more in layman's terms, can I put 87 in my car?
Not in your car.
Oh, well, not in my car, but if I have a regular vehicle like a Honda Civic, a Camry, I have a daily driver, is 87 okay, or should I be putting better fuel?
87 is okay, as long as you always add a fuel treatment every month or two, just to make sure that anything that's in it gets burnt off, or any alcohol-based solvents that are in there also get removed, or water doesn't condensate inside the tank.
And I guess for everybody who needs more help and is looking to find somebody trustworthy, come hopefully, fingers crossed, January 1st will be open to the public, and you guys can come see everybody, come see Frank, come see his team, and they'll help you take good care of your vehicle. But Frank, you want to drop your tag maybe, and how people could find you, and maybe if they could reach out to you if they have car questions?
If you have car questions, just, I guess, message me on Instagram. It's Propaganda1K. It's a weird name, but it's PROPERGANDA 1K. I usually post car stuff, pictures, videos.
He's really good. He's super creative too.
Yeah, thank you. And a lot of memes. So if you're looking to laugh and look at car stuff and get questions, just hit me up.
Awesome. Well, I enjoyed this episode, man.
I did.
Thank you so much for all the information. Thank you for sharing your story. And thank you for helping me take good care of my vehicle. We appreciate you, Frank.
Thank you for having me.
Frankie, my boy.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, guys. Join us on the next episode of MotorCast. We've got a ton more guests lined up to introduce to you. We've got tons of information and valuable content coming your way. You've got anything to close us out, Homer?
A big thank you. And I hope that you stay tuned in. Bye-bye.
Thank you.